Alrighty, so I'm going to do something a little different. Rather of me just do a preview and then reviewing the matinee games that happened on Saturday in a two separate video, I'm actually going to combine it into one big video because after all, it shouldn't take long for me to do the review of the matinee game and also do the video previewing the two games that's going to be happening on Sunday. So we begin with the first game, which is Toronto FC versus Orlando City, and for Toronto, yeah, they're in an absolute free fall right now. And this is the second week in a row where they concede late in this one to drop all 3 points in a match. Now, early in the first half, Torres did drive a long range shot wide, and I thought Orlando looked lively early in this one. Jimenez then hits one straight to Galese before Kara puts it high, and he was actually shouting for a potential penalty because while he puts this one high in the back post from close range, it looked like he was fouled by Thompson in the back post, and you could definitely make a case that could be the case because there was definitely a lot of contact there when Kara basically struck that one and was basically brought down in the box, but the referee doesn't think that way, and there was no penalty that was given in that. And then 13 minutes later, Bono had to tip Pereira free kick shot over the bar. It was a great free kick effort there from Maurizio Pereira, but Bono was able to be in the right place to tip that one over. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Galese denied curve from long range before Pereira heads it wide from the free kick. Orlando, I thought again, was in control in this one and were looking for the first goal. There was a shout for a handball by Orlando that was not given before Matinee hits one straight to Bono. Kerr then puts it just wide from 17 yards out. I mean, DeAndre Kerr had a couple of opportunities for TFC in this one, but unable to put one in. Pato then on the other end puts it over the bar from close range, and then on the other end, Aquino actually had a deflected shot that goes wide, and that actually took a wicked deflection that it could have easily ends up into the back of the net, but thankfully for Orlando's sake, that did not happen. And I thought as we wind down to the end of this game, well, there could be a goal in this one. I mean, I know throughout this game there weren't as many chances that really forced the goalkeeper to make some incredible save, but with the way that both teams was pushing for that winning goal, it seems like that could be the case. And it turns out that was the case because in the second minute of stoppage time, Orlando take the lead. And it's Kyle Smith scoring here from Pato to give Orlando City a 1-0 lead. So Kyle Smith certainly a super sub here with him coming off the bench and scoring on the header from the corner. I mean, it was a beautiful delivery, that one from Alexandro Pato, but even a better finish there from Kyle Smith to give Orlando City the 1-0 lead late on, and that would be the final score in this game. As the shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 8 that Toronto has, 6 shots on goal compared to 2 that TFC had, 3 shots off target compared to 7 that Orlando has, 4 shots out of block compared to 3 that TFC had, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that TFC has in this game. And overall, when you look at the stats, I think Orlando definitely deserved all 3 points in this game, but they kind of had to be made to wait to get all 3 points in this one, and even had to wait until very late in this game to finally get the much deserved win that they have. But yeah, while Orlando's certainly happy that they bounced back, which again, it kind of makes sense because they came off of a loss in the last game, and it would only make sense the fact that they continued this inconsistent kind of form this season by getting a win on the road. But for TFC, I mean, that's now 5 straight losses in a row for them. And this team, yeah, remember that good run that they had, and it looked like we thought that maybe with them I think winning 3 straight after start the season with a winless run, that maybe Bob Bradley's team might turn things around. Yeah, they have not turned things around. It has been an absolute free fall in these last couple of games. And now what do you do if you're a TFC? Because right now, it is pretty clear that some of the aging core that they have in this team is not helping the cause. And also, I know that they also have tried to play a lot of youngster on this team, but also that doesn't seem like it has working for this team. So it's a very difficult situation that Bob Bradley is going to have to deal with, and especially with the way that, yes, I know they're going to get Lorenzo Insigne in July, but how much do you think he's going to help this team when this team are still not playing very, very well, and that they're struggling both not only on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end too. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Colorado Rapids and LAFC. So for Colorado, one thing I didn't mention in the preview is that they actually kind of got the worst end of the stick after that game between them and Minnesota was delayed till Thursday, because that means that they have an extremely short turn around in this early lunchtime kickoff against LAFC at home. But when you look at how they play in this game, it didn't look like they were playing on just a 2-day rest. Now, granted, yes, a lot of players from that Rapids team that faced against Minnesota was not the same as this one, but even so, that's kind of impressive, the fact that the Rapids pretty much dominate LAFC in this one. And yes, granted, I know LAFC was a little bit shorthanded coming into this game, and they definitely did not play the strongest 11. It wasn't by that much. I mean, they still have Vela in the starting 11, and they really shut down Vela throughout the game. I mean, I don't think there was one time I saw Vela had a good opportunity for LAFC in this one. But in the first half, in the 11th minute, Zardes, he went through on goal here, but just couldn't quite control his final touch and go straight to McCarthy. But I thought the Rapids definitely started the first half the better side, and that will be a telling sign throughout the game, because they really dominate this game against LAFC. And their dominance early was rewarded in the 14th minute when a penalty was given to the Rapids after Ibiaga chopped Rubio down in the box, which Zardes was able to put away the penalty there. Very interesting to see Jersey Zardes take the penalty here, because it's usually Diego Rubio in here to take the penalty. But I guess maybe the Rapids want to get Jersey Zardes going, and especially with the way that when you just saw 3 minutes ago how he had a big opportunity, and for Jersey Zardes, I know this is an opportunity for him to have a change of scenery and get back to the good form that he had a couple years ago. But also, when you just look at that chance that he missed, that's not going to be a way for him to try to get himself back into the U.S. men's national team picture. But at least he did get the penalty, and I'm pretty sure the Rapids are hoping that will definitely get him going, because after all, number 9s definitely need goals to help gain their confidence. And again, hopefully that penalty kick goal will give Zardes going for this Rapids team, because he hasn't really done much for the Rapids ever since he came to this team from Columbus. Now, in the 24th minute, another penalty was given to Colorado. So 2 penalties that was given to Colorado in the span of 10 minutes. Don't see that happen every day. And this time it's Lewis, the one that was bumped down by Janela in the box. And as much as I know LAFC was complaining with the referee in this game, and yes, I thought there were times that the referee kind of favored the Rapids a little bit, I don't think there should be any complaint about those penalties. I mean, the first one, it was pretty clear that Ibiaga chopped Rubio down in the box. And then, in the second one, it was pretty clear that Janela completely shoulder barged Lewis there in the box. I mean, that's just a textbook penalty. And in the 25th minute, this time it was Rubio the one that steps up to take the penalty. But McCarthy was able to save this one. The only problem is he was off his lines, because when VAR look at it, and in fact the referee didn't even had to look at the monitor for long. I mean, he only took like a 1 second look and immediately just said, yeah, we're going to redo this one again, which this time Rubio does not make any mistake. In fact, he pretty much put this one in the upper 90, in the left side there, to give the Rapids a 2-0 lead. Then there was some chippiness between both of these teams, because both of these teams are Western Conference rival, and that I thought there was also a lot of fouls that was committed throughout this game, and the game kind of become very choppy because of that. Like, there was a lot of stoppage, and it was very stop and go, and there was no flow to this game. Though Lewis did blast it wide from close range in the 39th minute, and then McCarthy had to deny Wilson on the header in the 3rd minute of stoppage time as the Rapids head into the second half with a 2-0 lead. Now, in the second half, Cifuentes did flick one just wide from 6 yards out, and LAFC started to kind of come back the second half as the better team and as the aggressor. And this is not a big surprise, because we know that this team is a second half team. Though it was kind of interesting the fact that, yes, I know they have been a second half team, but this is also a team that hasn't had to face this kind of daunting task where they're down by multiple goals. But, with them coming out strong in the second half, I thought, well, here we go again. Maybe this is where we see LAFC start to get one back, and that the Rapids were going to be on the road. But apparently that is not how it worked in this game, because I'm pretty sure Robin Fraser realized that LAFC was going to come back in the second half. So he basically tells player to not let the foot off the gas, and that's exactly what happened in this case, as in the 52nd minute, McCarthy denied Rubio, and that on the second effort, Rosenberry had a chance from long range, but he blasted high. Then McCarthy denied Rubio again, this time from 14 yards out. And then he denied Lewis as, Colorado not only woke up in the second half, but they were putting onslaughting pressure and were pretty much putting a shooting gallery in front of John McCarthy, who was coming in this game for Maxime Crépeau. By the way, I'm not sure if Crépeau did suffer an injury, but, if he did, and if he is going to be out at least for a couple of games, I don't think LAFC should be that worried, because McCarthy was having a great game in this one, and you could maybe even say that, if he can continue these good performance, if he is going to be in relief for Crépeau, there could be a chance that he might sneak into that conversation of the #1 goalkeeper. I mean, we've seen it before in the league, where when the second choice goalkeeper comes in and he definitely lights it up a couple of games in a row, all of a sudden he finds himself in that first choice spot, and the first choice goalkeeper that is injured was never able to get himself back in that starting role. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about soccer, and a beautiful thing about sports in general, where next man up, and if that next man up turns out to be good, there's a chance that they can actually jump up the depth chart and be a starter for this team. Now, in the 58th minute, Rubio did have a long range effort that goes straight to McCarthy. I mean, Rubio absolutely tattooed that one from long range, but McCarthy with some strong hands to held that one in. The shots were 10-5 in favor of Colorado, but it was 6-0 in terms of the shots on goal. And that, there was another opportunity for the Rapids again, as McCarthy denied Zardes in the front post. And I thought LAFC defense not only has been non-existent, but so is their offense. I mean, it was flat throughout this game. The Rapids just pretty much dominate and shut down this LAFC attack. And in fact, in the 66th minute, this was one of the rare chances that they had, as Fall teased one up from long range, but that one came nowhere close on target. Rubio almost made it 3-0, but puts it just high from 8 yards out. I mean, this has got to be something that has to be very frustrating if you're a Rapids fan about Diego Rubio. Like, he has a lot of times get into these good positions, and yet he just does not put the ball into the back of the net. And it's also kind of an example of why they are so desperate in terms of finding a number 9. And that, I know they did sign Zardes from the Columbus Crew, but as I mentioned, Zardes hasn't been the answer so far for the Rapids. And that, a lot of the reason why, they could have easily won 4 or 5-0 in this one against LAFC, but a lot of the reason why they weren't able to get that crucial third goal was a combination of McCarthy stood on his head, but also some terrible finishing once again from the Colorado Rapids. Now, as the time winds down, the Rapids did start to drop in a mid-low block, and that, LAFC, despite having more possession in the Colorado half, they just couldn't do anything, because they just could not break down this really good defensive low block that Colorado was putting in. In fact, the Rapids continued to have chances, and this time it's the post denying them the chance to get that third goal, as Zardes was struck the post on the header, and then not long after, Trusty would struck the post, this time as he was trying to toe poke that one in, and he actually collided onto the post. So that's got to be a double whammy for Austin Trusty, with the fact that not only he wasn't able to score as he hits the post, but he also slammed into the post too. I mean, if you can put it in and you slam it into the post, I mean, that, I guess it's worthy of a punishment, even though you basically paid the price to do it. But to not score and then you collide into the post, yeah, that hurts even more, both physically and also mentally. But I also wrote, Colorado finishing, despite being 2-0 up, their woes continue. I mean, they just could not put the ball into the back of the net in open plays. And you got to remember, both of the goals that they scored was from the penalty spot. Yarbrough then denied Arango from close range in the 84th minute, as LAFC started to finally show some life. And then in the second minute of stoppage time, Blessing tried to curl one in, but he puts that one wide from close range. And in the end, the Rapids able to win 2-0 in this one against LAFC. And the shots in this one, 14-13 in favor of the Rapids, but the shots on goal were in favor of the Rapids, 6-2 in favor of them. 7 shots off target for the 6 that LAFC had. 1 shot that was blocked for the 5 that LAFC had. And possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that the Rapids has in this game. But like I said, this was an absolute domination that the Rapids had against LAFC. And I think throughout the Twitter stream, I did hear that they did extend their streak of 23 home games without a loss, and that, I think that's one of the longest unbeaten streak, and has to be right now the longest active home unbeaten beaten streak in the league. I mean, this just shows you that this team, they do not lose at home. In fact, I think, as I mentioned with them having a 23-game unbeaten streak at home, I think the last time they actually lost at home was against Austin FC all the way back last year in the second game of the season. So, like I said, this is a team that of course have been very good at home. I mean, part of that maybe is when you play in altitude. That of course is the case, and that, you know, for LAFC being a second half team, it's hard to be a second half team when you're basically playing in altitude, and especially with the way that usually, you know, I know LAFC eventually get going in the second half, but with the way that the altitude started to kind of come into effect, you can definitely at least saw it in this game, and that they just could not find that extra gear like they have done most of the season in the second half. But nevertheless, you know, this also is kind of an example of why, you know, in MLS, you know, every single team will always have a game that it's just going to be not their day, and that even some of the best team in the league, like LAFC, this just was not their day in this one. And now let's just hope to see, or let's just see whether or not if they're going to basically bounce back in the next game. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the Sunday games that is going to be happening tomorrow, and just do the preview of the 2 Sunday games that's going to be happening tomorrow. So the 2 Sunday game we got Elena United versus the New England Revolution, which will start at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 1:55 p.m. local time. And also because of the fact that I am working during this time, that means I'm not going to watch this one, and that you know, the only game that I'll be watching on Sunday will be this one between the Seattle Sounders versus Minnesota United. But for this game, you know, coming into this one, you could maybe say that this is kind of a desperation derby, though. You know, Atlanta did come off of a big win against the Chicago Fire and New England. You know, they're trying to get things going. But I think in the last game, it was definitely, once again, a setback with them, you know, dropping points against Columbus. And even though I know they did get a draw out of this one and get a point out of the last game, it definitely felt like they dropped all 3 points with the way that they conceded a late goal once again, which has been kind of the story of the season for the Revs. This team is a team that is struggling in terms of closing out games, with them conceding a league high 7 goals in the last 15 minutes. Now, coming into this game, New England does have a 3-2-5 record, and Atlanta has a 4-2-4 record. As I mentioned, this game will start at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 1:55 p.m. local time, and that this game is going to be on ESPN. All-time meeting, Atlanta definitely has the advantage with a 5-2-2 record. In the last 5 games, as I mentioned, Atlanta finally end their little winless run that they had with a 4-1 win against Chicago, then losing 2-1 to Montreal, losing 2-1 to Inter Miami, drawing 0-0 to FC Cincinnati, and then losing 1-0 against Charlotte FC. For New England, they drew 2-2 against Columbus, won 2-0 against Inter Miami, but lost 3-2 against DC United, win 2-1 against Charlotte FC, and then lost 3-2 against Inter Miami. So, like I said, both of these teams are kind of teams that is kind of similar to what I said about Sporting KC versus the Portland Timbers. That is going to be happening a little bit later tonight, that I talk about how that is the desperation derby of this week, where both of those teams were projected to do well this season, and they can still do well, and that can said to be with both of these teams can still make the playoffs despite getting off to a slow start to the season. But you got to say that, you know, both of these team definitely needs a win to continue to build up their confidence, and let's see who exactly is going to get that in this one. But now moving on, in the next game, we got the Seattle Sounders versus Minnesota. So this is the second consecutive game in just 3 days where I see my favorite team play against the Seattle Sounders. But unfortunately for the Loons, unlike how the Quakes got the benefit of playing against a Sounders B team, aka a Tacoma Defiance team in the U.S. Open Cup, Minnesota don't get that same luxury. I mean, I'm assuming in this game the Sounders are going to play their strongest team and pretty much play almost the same team that Brian Schmetzer basically feel against Pumas in that second leg of CCL, and fielded in this game against Minnesota, because, you know, all their starter have now got like at least 1.5 week of break, and I'm pretty sure, you know, that hangover from winning CCL from a week and a half surely should be over right. Now, the bad news I will say about the Sounders in this one is that we all know that they're not going to have Joao Paulo for the rest of the season, but I guess that's good news for Minnesota because that means at least we're not going to see him scoring a banger against us. I mean, it's quite ridiculous the fact that every time when the Sounders play against Minnesota, you know Joao Paulo will score a banger, and it's probably most likely going to be against Minnesota, but at least that's not going to be the case in this one. Now, coming into this game, the Sounders do have a 2-1-5 record, though again, that record is a little bit deceiving because they've been in CCL, and that they also have been taking a couple of games off in these past week to celebrate their CCL glory, and really are just kind of playing a Tacoma Defiance team in these last two games. Whereas Minnesota have a 4-2-4 record. This game will start at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 1:08 p.m. local time, as I mentioned. This one is going to be on ESPN. All-time meeting, I mean, this hasn't even been close. I mean, the Sounders having 9-1-1 record over Minnesota, and hence, this is also the reason why that when I did that video talk about my most hated team in the league, Seattle is number one. And it's not just because of the fact that they have a lot of insufferable fans, and that, you know, you definitely see more of that insufferability after they won CCL and becoming the first MLS team to do so. But it just feels like Seattle always beat my favorite team. And that maybe has started to change with the Quakes, because it seems like the Quakes have finally ended the dominance between them and the Sounders with 2 straight wins. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about Minnesota. I mean, last year they finally get their first win against the Seattle Sounders, but they still have not won against the Seattle Sounder at Lumen's Field. And I don't expect that it's going to change in this game because, like I said, I just have no confidence coming into this game. Yes, I know Minnesota did win 2-1 against the Colorado Rapids, but even then, when you look at that game, I mean, I don't think that you can say a lot about that game that could give me confidence coming into this one, because in that game they play a relatively weak team too, and that you know they only won because of the fact that they started to put some of their starters late in the game and really kind of brush aside a beat Colorado Rapids team late in this one. And not to mention the fact that just like the Colorado Rapids, the Loons do have a relatively short week to prepare for this, although unlike Colorado that unfortunately had that problem of an extremely short week to prepare for their MLS game, at least Minnesota does get a game extra, though unlike Colorado, they're going to be on the road for this game against the Sounders. And then the last 5 games, like I said, these last 5 games, I don't think Sounders fans really care of how they haven't done well in these last 5 games and only have won 1 out of their last 5. With the last game, they lost 2-0 against FC Dallas, but keep in mind, that was Tacoma Defiance, losing 2-0 to FC Dallas. And then they did lose 4-3 against the Seattle Sounders. And I won't say that was Tacoma Defiance, because they actually did play a strong team. And then you could argue some refereeing decision was kind of one of the reasons why they lost 4-3 against the Quakes. But they also lost 1-0 against Inter Miami. That was really a Tacoma Defiance kind of team when you look at how they pretty much started a lot of B squad in that game against Miami. But they did win 2-1 against Minnesota, and that was the last time that they got a win got a win on the road and also in league play. But before that, they drew 1-1 to Austin FC. Now for Minnesota, the last game was not good whatsoever. I mean, it was a 1-0 loss against FC Cincinnati, which, if this was last year, that would have been an incredibly embarrassing loss. But because Cincinnati has been much better this season, I wasn't surprised that of course, is the case. And especially, I thought Minnesota played very arrogant in that one, and just kind of underestimated FC Cincinnati in this one, or in that game. And then they lost 2-0 to LAFC. They did win 3-0 against Chicago, won 3-1 against Colorado, but then they also lost 1-0 against Austin FC. And again, inconsistency is a problem this season for the Loons. And one thing that is at least it's not inconsistent, and it's been a consistency, is goal scoring. I mean, unless if this team can't get the goal scoring going, which I don't expect that's the case, because when you're struggling to score goals, the last team you're facing is the Seattle Sounders, which if they do put out their strongest team, this is one of the best defensive team in the league. So I have not a lot of confidence that Minnesota is going to pull this one off, but if they do pull this off, this would definitely be one of the bigger upset of of this season, but we shall see whether or not if that is going to be the case. Most likely it's probably not going to be the case. But either way, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these two games and also the two games that I just reviewed earlier in this preview/review kind of combination of a video. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys see a like, smash the subscribe button. Also, let me know in the comments below your prediction for both of these games that's going to be happening tomorrow. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.